Hi, chapter 26, part 2. Just needed a stretch. He's coming with us, said Bixer. He's going to be okay. Lucky looked at Frolix again. The big Axel was whimpering, holding his head. He didn't see how Frolix could possibly be okay, but they couldn't leave him here. So he got to his feet and helped Bixer haul their brother up. Frolix's body was so heavy they had to support it between them. Unsteady, ears still ringing from the blast, they stumbled forward through the crowds. The broken ground was treacherous, even with his cloven hoof boots. Lucky lost his balance more than once. But Bixer steered them, picking her way through the wreckage, purposeful as ever. Mystica's counting on us, she said. We can't let her down. Finally they reached the stage. It was a mess of rubble. Cables, girders, fallout from the blast everywhere. The taste of ash filled Lucky's mouth. Gala was there, on her knees, covering her face with her hands. Gala, called Bixer, reaching out a hand. Star Talker of the future? Gala looked up. Her face was smeared with ash. Her rainbow eyes overflowed with grief. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She stared at the ruin of the wheel and the destruction of her world. How could they? She whispered. How could anyone do this? Slowly she turned to look at them. One by one, Lucky, Bixer and finally Frolix. She gasped as she met Frolix's eyes. She grabbed his hands and held him to her chest like a drowning man. What are you doing to my brother? Said Bixer. If you hurt him... Hush, said Gala, holding him tight. She cradled Frolix, rocking him back and forth, whispering in his ear. So Bazantine is gone, she murmured, and now his power passes to you. But you, poor fool, you never believed it or prepared for it until too late. And now here it is, overwhelming. I can't stop it, groaned Frolix. I keep seeing things that make no sense, hearing things I don't understand, all at once rushing in. He ground his palms into his eyes and ears, and as if to stop the flood of visions. Gala held him for a long time, and then glanced up at Lucky. As for your father, she said, he's waiting for you. He's expecting you, even now. Go to Aquarius, and you will find him. He's in Aquarius? Is that where Charon is? Charon is? In Aquarius? Gala shook her head. Her hair flicked across her face. Nothing is in Aquarius, but that is where you must go. For Aquarius is dying, and if Aquarius goes, everything goes. Nothing will remain. Her rainbow eyes filled with tears again. Oh, we had such hopes, we Star Talkers, but all is falling into ruin. No, we cannot help you. Our time is over. One by one, we die. Bixer's needles buried themselves in the words, and her head drooped, but Lucky forced himself to speak. He had to keep trying, though he dreaded what Gala might say next. I don't understand, he said. How do I find my father if he's not in Aquarius? I'm begging you, please. Just tell me how to find him. Give me something to go on. Gala looked into his eyes. Through her tears, she seemed to be struggling with terrible demons. Then she nodded, hesitant. Very well. Watch. She held the astrolabe in her hands and tapped its surface with her long black nails. The dials began to move. They started to turn and spin, shimmering beneath her fingers as the metal disc pulsed and blazed and throbbed with light. Do you see, she murmured, through the storm and off the edge? Do you see it? The stars will lead you there if you are bold enough to follow. Lucky looked, and as all he could see was the blur of his fingernails as they flicked over the symbols and dials. But then, just for a moment, he thought he saw the astrolabe opening up beneath her touch. He thought he saw lines of silver light stretching off the astrolabe, off the edge of the disc altogether, extending out into the open space around her. He felt a shiver of hope, and then Gala shrieked like someone possessed. She dropped the astrolabe. It fell from her hands and into the rubble. Those lines of silver light flickered out and were gone. The wolf, she howled, convulsed with horror. Her eyes sparkled every colour at once. The wolf that eats the stars. That is what lies at the end of your path. For you and the wolf, you are connected. In the end, you are one. What? Gasped Lucky. How can we be connected? But Gala was backing away from him, hands held up before her as she stumbled into the rubble. She was fleeing from the stage, fleeing from Lucky. She was running out into the crowds. He called after her, but she didn't look back. Gala, the most powerful Star Talker, seemed utterly terrified of him. As she plunged into the torrents of people surging past on all sides, she was swept up, carried away amongst them, and was gone. Lucky and Bixer looked at each other, helpless, hopeless, wordless. Can we get out of here? Grasped Frolix. Lucky retrieved his astrolabe from the rubble, and they stumbled out of the amphitheatre in silence. The explosion was still ringing in their ears. Smoke and ash was still rolling across the night as they walked through the ruins of the world. It looked as if a great fist had come down from the sky and smashed the landscape to pieces. The forest trees had shattered into twigs, the dwelling huts had been blown away. Of the wildflowers in the fields, only stalks remained, shaking in the wind. There were animals stampeding through the fields, and people running, walking, stumbling out of the smoke. Their faces were covered in ash, and still the ash kept raining from the sky. Lucky looked for Professor Valentine and Bazooka by the wreckage of the wheel. Bixer tried to persuade him that it was pointless, but he refused to believe it. He had to look, he had to search. It was long, hard, and grim. Half buried under the ribble, he found a single feather of crimson gold, just one feather. That was all he could find. He picked it up. It was still warm to the touch, still glowing with light. His heart ached like little Phoenix and her master, the Star-Talker of the past. He couldn't show the feather to Frolix and Bixer. He couldn't bear to look at himself, but he couldn't leave it in the ashes either. So carefully, silently, he put the feather away in the pocket of his coat. That was when he had to turn away from the wreckage of the wheel and admit to himself that there were no survivors. Roman 3. The wolf is free. The Astraeus of the hunt cannot catch it, for we are now the hunted. Not a happy chapter. The destruction of the wheel, of more than the wheel. And perhaps Frolix is now assumed his true Star-Talker potential. I wonder what he'll do with that. Bye for now.